what I've done here is I've created a series of graphite drawings on top of heavy matte gel, and they layered in lots of thick successions and they dry in between layers. And you can see it's a self-portrait, and I've incorporated faces of my family within it. So what I'd like to do is to broadly show you how I would go about doing that. And seeing as though I'm in a situation now where I'm locked in, nothing else to do, I've got all my kids here, they're boomerang kids, they're all living at home, so I thought it'd be great to do a series of these layered images of my children. I think it kind of relates to the theme. So first of all, obviously find a bit of wood. In my case, I like to use wood, but you could use anything really. You could use canvas, paper, what have you. And then, I mean, it's obviously good to work from life, but I found it quite useful to actually have photographs of my children. I mean, they'll sit still for me, and obviously you'd be able to see that whole process evolving in a slightly different way if it's from real life. But it's great to have fixed images of a particular size to fit onto my surface. I then go about sort of making sketches on drafting film so that I can play around with them and work out how I want to put the images together. So for this particular one, I think I will start off an image of my middle son looking upwards, and I'm thinking about how that can be incorporated on the surface or the bit of wood. So once you kind of planned it and thought about it, you could then take that image and start to work from the image. If you're feeling insecure, you could actually trace it through by putting a bit of carbon on the other side and pressing through, but actually it's quite nice to draw freehand to get a sense of the natural sketchiness that you might want to achieve. Anyway, I've done one earlier just to speed the process up, and you can see I've used a bit of wood, okay, and on that bit of wood I've drawn my middle son's face, and I've used a bit of gesso for the highlights and a bit of graphite sort of sprinkled onto it and smudged in for the shadows, just to create a bit of space and volume. Then what I do is I want to give that effect of layering. So in effect, what I might want to do is to plan a few things to do with how I want the rest of the portrait to happen. Okay, so this is like mimicking the heavy matte gel that I'll be putting on later on. So I might try lots of different variations, a stage at a time, think about how it's going to work. I might swap one image with another and see what happens, move them about, and you get this dynamic sequence of photographs, or should I say lines evolved from photographs, or drawing that's evolved from life, whatever you choose. You could draw anything, it could be buildings, structures, all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply the first layer on, and what you'd normally use is heavy matte gel. I'm running out of this a little bit, so I'm going to try and do it slightly differently. I'm going to start off with a gloss, okay, and I'm going to create a nice translucent layer over the top, and then maybe later on I'll finish it off with some heavy matte when it's dry. I'm going to apply it on as I would be icing a cake almost, covering the whole surface. I'm just going to brush off a few of those bits of rubber and things like that that might have got incorporated in there, but sometimes leaving bits of grit and things in is quite nice because it adds to the surface. Okay, so a decent amount on top, so you want a sort of a substantial layer, thicker than paper, almost like its own, almost like Perspex-y kind of layer in itself. And then, once I've done that, something very luscious about doing this, it's quite an enjoyable process. I can take something to spread with, a squeegee of any sort. I mean, I've got this particular rubber squeegee, but I find this one quite useful. And I'll smooth across to create a nice even layer. Okay, and you can just about see the portrait through there, the drawing through there. And then I might go around the edges just to sort of make sure that any loose bits that have come off are going to be, I might use that again. Okay, so I'll leave that to dry, and once it's dry it'll be completely translucent. I did this one earlier this morning, and you can see that it's starting to dry. You can see the the face coming through, but it'll be absolutely glassy, translucent. And with the heavy matte gel over the top, you'll get more of a waxy surface like this that you can then draw on top of and add the next layer. Okay, again, it's a technique I've adopted and developed over quite a number of years and made it my own. But anyway, have a go of it. It could be on any surface of any subject matter. Okay, as you can see, I've got into some detail and I've done the next layer. Okay, now my aim is to add another layer of heavy matte gel. So I'll start off with this one over here, and as you can see, I'm just layering it on. And from there, I will smooth it out and wait for it to dry. So really, this takes a day at a time. So you've got to be very patient. Now the last layer on these pink drawings, a little tint of pink, I think. Almost like a little bit of blush, a bit of blood running to the head.